called Uncle Giuseppe's. It's like a Jersey Long Island
Might
chain.
be we're good? Thanks, Gary.
It's supposed to be like
My father goes to that place all the time.
also like I heard one of the best places to work.
Good evening. Good evening, everyone. This is the Town of Eastchester Planning Board meeting of January 23rd, 2025. If everyone would rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We're going to take attendance. James Bonanno is here. Mr. Phil Nemisak.
Present.
Lauren Goodrich will not be here tonight. Joe Rubino.
Present.
Michael Fortuna.
Present.
Let's just do some housekeeping here. So the meeting, I make a motion, we've all read the meeting minutes of December 5th, 2024. Phil, do you have any comments?
Yes, I circulated them on Tuesday, I believe.
Cool. So then I make a motion to approve the minutes from December 5th, 2024, subject to Board Member Nemisek's comments.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And just for the record, there's the applications we are going over tonight are 249 Main Street and then 203 Beach Street, also known as 104, 108 Highland, then 14 Shady Lane, followed by 124 Siwanoy. So those are ones we are doing. The ones that have been adjourned are Sal's Market and Pizzeria, 42 Maple Avenue Subdivision, 360 White Plains Road, and 15 Tuckahoe Avenue Subdivision.
Yep.
So-
Mr. Chairman?
88
Yep.
White Plains Road.
Oh,
Yep.
got it. Right, and then those are adjourned to February 27, 2025 meeting. So that being said, we should just jump right in. The first application.
By the way, I did just want to make a comment that the reason that Board Member Lauren Goodrich isn't here tonight is because she gave birth to a beautiful baby daughter just over a week ago. So, but congratulations to Lauren and her family, a new person, a new resident of the town of Eastchester who we can hold important meetings for, okay?
Thank you, Phil. Beautiful little baby, by the way, a little girl. So the first application is 2330 249 Main Street and 27 New.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the record, David Smith, Principal with Planning and Development Advisors. Here on behalf of the applicant, Mr. Angelo Agavino, Eastchester Manor Developers, LLC. The last time we were before you was at your December meeting. I'm going to wish you a Happy New Year to all of you. And congratulations to Ms. Goodrich on the birth of her baby. That's great news. It's always wonderful. So tonight's application, we have provided you with updated civil engineering plans, updated and revised architectural plans. There was an updated notice of denial provided by the building inspector, which was included. And one of the additional pieces of information that you were looking for was a view from New Street looking back towards the project. So what I would ask right now is Mr. Agavino, if he could quickly go through the site plan. I think also, as you recall from the December meeting, the main revision to the plan was reducing the building height from 6 stories to 4 stories. The project includes 25 units, 25 one-bedroom units. They're all supported by 30 at-grade parking spaces. And there are, I think, 4 covered spaces, but with 30 parking spaces total. So I think at the last meeting we had asked for your consideration whether you would be amenable to a negative declaration with respect to this application so that we could then move on to the zoning board for the required variances in order to make this project successful. So Angela, if you could just quickly just walk the board through the site plan and then also the graphic that was prepared relative to the visual. Thank you.
How you doing? My name is Angelo Agavino. I'm the owner and hopefully the developer of this project. Happy New Year, guys. Good to see you.
Thank you.
I want to show you guys the new, you guys requested a view from New Street. This is the house that is to the right of, there's a house, this is an existing house right here, right now, that we're going to demolish. And this would be the driveway entering in from New Street, and this is the house right next door. So it kind of, if you could, this was the previous view. It kind of showed more of the building. So we kind of had them step back, the design team, and you know, kind of step across the street and kind of get some of that house into it.
Yeah, that's certainly helpful. Thank you for doing that. I think the perspective, because it's deep, it's way in the lot.
Absolutely. So, I mean, I could give you some dimensions.
No need. I get the idea. I mean, it just, when it's just the house, all you see is that. When you see the existing
good,
building next to it, it gives perspective.
At least 150 feet, probably a little bit more, but something like that. It's a ways back from the street. So if you're standing in the street, it doesn't look tremendous.
Yeah,
I mean,
because that's offsetting.
yeah.
That's offsetting the view. Right, when you show the building, your eye goes to the building. This allows your eye to stray to the right. No, I think it looks good. Is that landscaping part of the development? It's very pretty. Or is that existing?
Yeah, well, we have a landscape plan that they kind of just threw some bushes in there, but we, you know, we have a kind of a we hired a landscape architect that we filed with the town. With some trees that they're gonna put there and certain stuff. But
Great.
design team kind of just threw some bushes and stuff in there. But there's gonna be landscaping and trees and bushes in that little planter in the front there.
Okay, thank you. Leave it there. Yeah, would you? Yeah, just leave it there. We'll keep looking at it.
Perfect.
Makes us
Yeah,
happy.
just a reminder, and I'll adopt the nomenclature that I used, I think, at the last meeting. This is the third iteration of this, so I think I called it version 3.0. Version 1.0 was originally presented to us some years ago, and it was the same 4 stories, roughly the same footprint, right?
Same.
And we approved that. Then version 2.0, which came before us in 2023, was 6 stories. The original version was 15 units mixed between one family and one bedroom and 2 bedroom. And the version that came before us, 2.0, in late 2023, had 6 stories, 25 units. Again, a mixture of, I think, 15 single-bedroom and 10 two-bedroom. And so this returns us to the 1.0 in terms of the massing, but we still have 25 units, although instead of, there are no 2-bedroom units, there are 25 one-bedroom units. Okay, so that's just a level reset there. So, you know, certainly, you know, we had some issues with the massing at 6 stories. We previously didn't have a significant issue with the as-of-right 4-story, and this is back to the as-of-right 4-story.
We did remove also some parking on the left and right underneath the building as
Yeah,
well.
it's definitely a different application.
2.0, yep.
For sure, but at least the reason that we were prepared to recommend a positive declaration, and in fact instructed the planning department to draw up a positive declaration, was based principally on the massing of a 6-story building, which is no longer the application. So, okay, you can proceed. Thanks.
That's
So-
our presentation, if you have any other additional questions.
Sure, so We have a memo from, we got a recent memo, and I think there's some comments that our consultant could respond to if everything is in order with the drawings the way they are. Because I know there were some things we still might have needed addressed, so.
Yeah, and we're referring to a memo, I think that's on the
From,
the town's website, the planning department. And it was originally dated October 23rd, 2024, but it's been updated to today's date, January 23rd, 2025.
right, it's from Joe to the department. So, just run us through it. I think everything's been addressed to our satisfaction, but if you just sort of let us know.
You got it.
Thank you.
For the record, Rick Bolander from KCJ. I know what looks like a lengthy memo, but it's really a lot of kind of cleaning up and coordinating between the architectural and civil plans. Obviously, you're aware that they would still need a variance for the slopes of the driveways, still need approval from the Westchester County Department of Public Works, Veolia Water, and Westchester County Department of Health, as far as we're aware. But we understand these kind of applications, and we don't really anticipate any problems receiving those approvals from those agencies. Like I mentioned, coordination between the architectural and civil drawings, just showing certain line work, but nothing design-wise, no problems design-wise, just essentially tighten those drawings up and kind of just coordinating. We have spoken to the highway superintendent about sewer. There's no anticipated capacity problems with the existing sewer and tying in with the additional flows from the application. The lighting plan, we would just like to see the foot candles that they're showing. The photometric plan is great, but we just would like to see the photometrics over the property line, just to ensure there's no light trespassing over the property line. But that should be simple, nothing crazy about that. And stormwater. As designed, we would like to see it tweaked. We have witnessed the soils. There's soils there that would accept the type of design they're doing with the infiltration and the Coltech units, but there just needs to be minor tweaks to that. But as Joe had mentioned back in October, there's solutions. It's not shown on the plans right now, but we're fairly certain that there's solutions for the stormwater. And that was essentially the last real hurdle engineering-wise, was the stormwater design. But we're confident that they can come up with a feasible design. And that was essentially it. I know it looks like a long memo, but it's kind of just cleaning up.
Bottom line, there's nothing here that's insurmountable.
No.
Okay.
Nope.
It seems like in '24, the items were brought up, and now you're just validating that those items have or will be addressed
Correct. Yeah.
prior
Yep.
to the application. Okay, cool. I'm good. Is there snow removal? Where does snow go?
We can have them look at that. I don't think there's anything, and I don't want to misspeak, but I don't think there's anything on the plans identifying a certain area for that.
Right.
But I think that'd be good if,
Mr. Chairman, my recollection was that the plans, all of the iterations of this particular project, the issue was going to be that snow removal had to be taken off-site because of the issues with parking. Now, I don't know if that's changed because we're from 36 to 30 parking spots and if there were areas opened up, but it was my recollection that one of the issues was that there would have to be off-site snow removal.
And that is one of the aspects that they require a variance for,
If a variance,
from the requirement to provide a snow removal area on site.
okay, or take it off-site.
Correct, that would be an alternative that might
Okay.
support the grant of the variance.
Okay, thank you. Memory's better than mine. Okay, thank you. So, coming back to the story here. Do we have any more questions for the applicant, guys? I think
Not at this stage, no.
No, me neither. So then, this is a public hearing, so now's the time for the public to address the board. if there are any comments on this application. Great. So then, I mean, I think quite a bit has been done on the site. There's been a lot of questions from us, a lot of issues, which you have addressed to our satisfaction, and we think it's a handsome building. We appreciate the attempts or what you've done to bring it to within the massing that would allow us to move forward. So I think it's a pretty good work that we all had our hands in. We did, you guys did, you were very cooperative, and we do appreciate you guys working with us on it, on getting this done. That being said, if there's no other questions, I think we're going to make a neg deck and then refer you to the zoning board. So then, unless there's other comments,
Public hearing open?
Yes, we would keep, if we decide to move forward in that fashion, you'd keep the public hearing open so that they can proceed to
I guess
the
I
other
can make a
boards
motion
and
to
then
keep it
collect the
open.
comments back, yes.
I can make a motion to keep the public hearing on this application open.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And now I'm going to make a motion to adopt a secret negative declaration for application 23-30, 249 Main Street and 27 New Street, based on the short environmental assessment form, parts 1, 2, and 3, as revised to evaluate the impacts of the four-story proposal.
And just a reminder, we went through the parts 2 and 3 extensively at the October meeting. The only aspect of the project identified to potentially have a significant impact was the visual and community impacts of the height, which have been addressed by reducing the building to the four-story building that's now proposed.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm not sure that we completely ruled out every other category, but by virtue of the building having become a smaller building, I don't think there are any, looking at the Part 2 impact assessment, I think we can safely answer no or small impact to each one of those questions.
Sure.
So I'm comfortable with adopting a neg deck.
So do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then I make a motion to refer this application, 2330, 249 Main Street and 27 New Street, to the Zoning Board of Appeals for the required variances and the Architectural Review Board.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next application is 2302, 203 Beach Street, and 104 and 108 Highland Avenue.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, again. For the record, David Smith, Principal with Planning and Development Advisors. I'm here on behalf of Bashcom Cocoy and Ford Vlasin LLC, who's the applicant for a sketch plan review, amended subdivision for 203 Beach Street, 104 Highland Avenue, 108 Highland Avenue. As you recall, and I'm also joined by Dan Collins, who's our civil engineer, and Brian Dempsey, who is our traffic engineer. And Mr. Kukoy is here as well. As you recall, this project received a negative declaration back in June of 2023. We were required to get, I believe, 2 variances, and that application was for 8 lots, 6 of which came in off of, as I recall, came in off of Beach Street, and the balance, there was 1 also separate driveway off of Beach Street, and then there were 2 off of Highland Avenue. Since that time, the applicant has acquired 108 Highland Avenue, and they've revised the site layout so that the principal access is from Highland Avenue. So we have Highland Avenue here, Beach Street here. We have 2 lots with driveway access to Beach Street. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lots off of a cul-de-sac that accesses Highland Avenue, and then 1 lot that has a driveway access to Highland Avenue. All of these lots are zoning compliant. There are no zoning variances required either for the creation of the cul-de-sac or for the lots, so they're all zoning compliant.
If you could remind us, Mr. Smith, how many either existing houses or houses that have been removed were on this property or are on this property?
Well, that's, okay, so there was, I believe there were 2, and Ms. Basham, just correct me if I'm wrong. There were 2 homes off of Beach Street. Those have both been. Come on up.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. Just to confirm, there was...
Name for the record.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Bashkim Kuka, I'm the applicant. There was one house on Beach Street. There was a multifamily house on 104 Highland Avenue, and there's currently a multifamily house on 108 Highland Avenue. So it'd be 3 houses in total. I believe the multifamily house on 104 Highland was a 3-unit, and the current multifamily on 108 Highland is a 2-unit.
Okay, so grand total of, is it 6 units, 3 buildings?
Yeah, 3 houses, 6
Yeah,
units. in
3
total.
houses,
Yep.
yeah. Mhm. Okay, thank you.
So the total project acreage went from the prior application from 1.81 acres to 2.27 acres. As I indicated in the initial remarks, all of the lots and including the cul-de-sac are all zoning compliant. We have included with the application package a response to the Keller Sessions review memo, a stormwater management plan, and I would also note that there is one separate lot on the proposed subdivision that is used. It's not a building lot, but it's used for stormwater management to address that particular aspect. We've included the environmental assessment form, the full environmental assessment form, the zoning compliance tables, a traffic response memo prepared by Mr. Dempsey, the subdivision plans prepared by Hudson Engineering, the preliminary subdivision plat, and there was a request that we prepare inspection videos of the utility infrastructure, and those were provided to the engineering department, I believe to the highway department as well for their review. We received a review memo from your engineering consultant. There were several comments. There were some comments, I think, that needed to be cleaned up on the preliminary plat. I think that all the other issues were fairly, or could be addressed as part of any condition. What we would like or respectfully request is that you would consider, given the changes to the plan, we think that the environmental impacts have been reduced. Certainly, the access, I think the critical issue with the last application was the access coming out onto Beach Street and all of the traffic and circulation. Here, we've modified that plan so that there are only 2 single-family homes with driveway access coming out to Beach Street, and the balance comes out to Highland. So we would respectfully request that you consider a negative declaration at some point, and that would allow us to move forward with the balance of the approval process. So, Mr. Chairman, that concludes my presentation. If you have any questions, or certainly want to open it up to the public.
No, I don't. Similarly, I'm confident that we've brought this to a point where we feel comfortable moving it forward. I think the Beach Street application, when it was the Beach Street application, was a lot more controversial. I don't know if this is as controversial. We'll find out in a minute, but I I think we're heading in the right direction here.
Yeah, I do know that, and I do know that we're going to hear from some people today because there are a lot of familiar faces out there. And we did have a very involved process
Yes.
the first go-round. One of the issues I know that was raised, and by the way, there was a consensus that everyone would like this a lot better if the cul-de-sac opened out onto Highland, which is exactly what you've done. And I believe the zoning board may have said the same thing at some point.
Correct.
So one of the other issues that came up was had to do with school buses and school districts, and it appeared, if I'm remembering this correctly, that certain of the school-age children who would be living in the cul-de-sac that opened out onto Beach would have to be bused into the Eastchester School District as opposed to the Tuckahoe School District, and that was going to create additional traffic. Has that issue more or less been resolved?
Yes.
Okay. And if so, how?
So the school district boundary, the majority of the homes in the cul-de-sac go to the, I believe, it's Eastchester district. And so the school bus would pick those children up from Highland. They would come in off of Highland. So that would not require a school bus to come into Beach Street in order to pick those kids up and then reroute and go back out to the district. Yes. So that issue has been essentially eliminated, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Additional comments or questions, guys? Since there are not, this is a public hearing, so I make a motion. I guess we're just going to continue with the public hearing, so
Do you have any,
we'll do it when we're done. Let's just, consultants, right? I guess we could, since you're here.
yeah.
Could you, similar to on the last application, could you just, it seems, just concur with the applicant that everything has been addressed or could be addressed on the next go-round?
or if you don't need to concur, you can object, too.
Okay. Or object.
Again, for the record, Rick Bolander, KSCJ. We have reviewed the plans, reviewed the stormwater design. We are comfortable with the stormwater design. As you'll see in the memo, the bulk of the comments were on the recently submitted plat. We know the information's there on the plans. It just needs to be added to that plat. I understand that it is a lot of information. It will busy up that drawing, but it's required and it just needs to be included on the plat. And we kind of outlined exactly, where to find that, the requirement for that information, what information is needed. And again, just speaking to lighting, a lighting plan was submitted. We were just asking for a photometric plan again, just to make sure there's no light trespassing over the property line. I have reviewed the sewer videos, the sewer report, just kind of getting organized now and just putting together and trying to identify the most critical areas that we could utilize to either repair, reline, however we see fit to mitigate the sewer issues. But again, that should be, I plan on meeting with the highway superintendent to kind of finalize that, hopefully next week, to get that to the applicant so they could address that as soon as possible. And essentially that was really it on our end. Again, the stormwater design seems very well thought out, very thorough. And just, again, with health department approval and Veolia water approval, but we don't anticipate any problems with the applicant with that.
Okay, thank you. That's a,
I actually have a question for you, because I know we had a lot of video footage last time. We had numerous photographs. We had a few heavy rain precipitation events. You just commented that the stormwater management plan you think looks like an effective one.
Yes.
It may not have been your exact words, but in essence, that's what you just said. I seem to recall that when the last iteration of this, the conclusion that we reached was that, notwithstanding all the visible problems with stormwater management that were existing on the undeveloped property, that the stormwater management plan, if implemented correctly, was actually going to have a net positive effect.
Correct, and that's,
Yeah, can you comment on that? Is that
Yes.
still the case?
and that's, that's a requirement of New York State where what they're doing, they're essentially assuming the site to be undeveloped. And then, so, it's a grass lot. And taking no credit for existing impervious and just assuming, okay, now we're building on it, now we have X amount of impervious area, and what they have to do for the 100-year storm event, which is about 9 and change inches of rain in a 24-hour period, which is a lot of rain. So they have to reduce the peak rate of runoff from the existing conditions, from essentially a grass field where the water is allowed to percolate into the ground, so you don't really have that much runoff, to a developed site with impervious areas where that water is not allowed to percolate into the ground, and they have to detain that, hold it back, and release it slowly. So the peak rate of runoff for the 100-year storm will be reduced, again, the net positive stormwater-wise.
And I'm going to play devil's advocate here a little, because I know we have some very pessimistic members of the public.
Yes.
That all sounds great in concept. How does it actually work in your experience?
It works well. If it's designed, if it's built as it was designed, it does work well. Again, we can't expect the applicant to fix the problem, only to help the problem. Now, how much help would it be? It's really tough to say, but according to their design, and I've designed these things too, and I've run through the iterations and the calculations, and it does work. If built properly, it will work.
Okay.
May I ask a question too?
Shoot.
When the consultants are evaluating stormwater and septic, do they also take into consideration the timing of other proposals like 230 Main Street, or excuse me, 249 Main Street, and other structures like that building at the same time? Because maybe while you're evaluating one project, it's for the current state of affairs where, then there's a 25-unit building coming up. Like, is that calculated into any of these evaluations at the same time? And if not, what's the workaround if both projects move forward?
Stormwater-wise, the stormwater design is localized, so it really wouldn't affect, again, because anything going off the project site would be reduced. So they can only really control what's on their site. Sewer-wise, it's a county rule that it's 3-to-1 mitigation. So for every gallon that you're adding to the system, you're mitigating 3-to-1. So that might not precisely account for other developments, but it's a factor of safety that they're required to do.
So the net impact to the sewage or waste is less, because you're going to clean up or fix anything?
They're going to clean up, and the cleaning up is, when I was looking at the videos today, there's lengths of pipes that are offset, so there's backups where pipe is disjointed from another pipe, and you're getting buildup, and it restricts the flow, and there's laterals that are coming almost through the pipe that are blocking it. It's an old system, and you have roots that have almost essentially blocked entire lengths of pipe. So what we'll suggest is, in certain areas, either replace the entire pipe in kind, jet it, clean it. Obviously, I think that's the first step is cleaning it, and then just identifying those areas where we could either replace pipes, we could reline the system, which would prevent, because if you have cracks in pipes or you have disjointed pipes, you're getting either groundwater or rainwater coming through the system into our system, which we can't account for, and it's just adding that much more liquid to a system that isn't designed for that. So that's essentially it's I&I, inflow and infiltration. It's trying to limit the amount of extraneous liquid getting into our system and just helping out the flow through that.
Right, it's amazing that there's that much that can be done to improve the system, the overall performance of the system at that ratio.
Yeah, correct.
Must
At
be
a 3-to-1 ratio to what they're adding to the system.
Be in really bad shape.
Mm-hmm.
It is, okay.
Okay, and I'll ask you the same generalized question about the it's a September 11th, 2024 report for this particular property that's been updated with today's date. The conclusions you've reached here, is there anything that gives you pause as being potentially insurmountable?
No, and because I kind of came onto this late, so Joe Tremelli from my office was heavily involved in this, so we were in discussions a lot today, just to make sure, you know, I was comfortable with it, just with that little bit that I've been involved, but I spoke with Joe, and he was comfortable with it too. I wanted to make sure that just because of my, you know, I've only been involved for
Yeah,
a
his
little
name
bit.
is on the report, too. so-
Yes.
And you work for the same company, so
Yep.
we expect that. Okay,
Good.
thank you.
Yep.
Rich D'Andrea, our traffic engineer, is here as well.
Sure.
Good evening, Rich D'Andrea, Colliers Engineering and Design. So all of our previous comments have pretty much been addressed on traffic at this point. Just a couple of things, I think you already touched on it, that with the change in the axis scenario, that the concerns about traffic circulation and where traffic was going to and coming from have kind of been addressed here. So that end of things, I think, are no concern. There is a plan in this plan set for fire truck turning and in the cul-de-sac. Then they also show parking potentially on one side of the street if there was ever needed to be on-site parking. So the town may just want to consider posting some no parking signs on the one side of the street so that if in an emergency, the fire truck could always get through. And then going back to Beach Street, we had made some previous recommendations when the access was coming out to Beach Street about some signing and striping that could be done on Beach Street to kind of calm traffic a little bit. One of them was a speed radar sign posting, and the other one was maybe looking at the Beach and Rose Avenue intersection and making that an all-way stop condition. So those are just some things that the board may want to consider as part of this, whether that's with the change in access, if that's still necessary. Obviously, you only have 2 lots going out to Beach Street now, but it's something to consider.
Okay, I mean, that's our discretion, and back when it was a Beach Street application, we may have felt more strongly about it than we do now.
Right.
Okay, thank you. But otherwise, I guess it's kind of obvious, but the net change in traffic on Beach from this application is,
Definitely less, yeah.
Yeah, it's de minimis.
Yes, it's almost negligible. From what the house that used to be there to the 2 houses you have now, it's.
Yeah, it's literally adding one house from
Right.
what used to be there before the one of the 2 lots on Beach Street. The home there was leveled, I guess,
Right.
right? So,
right, we
okay.
can't change, we're not here to change existing conditions, we're here to see if this has any impact on the existing conditions. And it
Understood.
seems like, as you said, it's de minimis.
Yep.
Okay.
Any concern, by the way, about Highland Avenue?
No, I mean, still, the traffic that's gonna go out that way is still, it's not that significant with the 7, I think it's 7 homes that are coming out to that access. And it's not significant, and there's no concerns with the operation.
And you're replacing, I think it was like 5 units of housing directly on Highland.
Right.
This is now pushing it back to a cul-de-sac where, perhaps it's, I don't know what the effect of a cul-de-sac is as opposed to someone coming off a driveway.
I mean, you have a more standard intersection, probably better sight distance than you might have had with a driveway, but otherwise, it's essentially the same thing, so.
Highland is sort of, it's a fairly heavily sloped
Yeah.
street, so I know people tend to come down it a lot more quickly than they go up it.
Sure.
And this would, this cul-de-sac would empty into the downside first, I guess.
Okay, yeah.
Any issues with sight lines?
No, they did take a look at the sight lines as part of the recent response. Everything looks good there, so we have no concerns.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments from the board?
No.
No. So then, As I tried to say before, this is a open public hearing, so if anyone would like to comment on this application, now is your opportunity.
Hey, good evening and Happy New Year.
Thank you.
Rose Brescia, 205 Beach Street. I have one comment and three questions, so I'll just run through so we don't have to keep jumping back and forth. Comment is, yes, much better design. Consensus is much better design. There seems to be some breathing room with this layout, so positive. I have, the three questions are on, two questions on the cover letter. So that first document in the list, page 4, which is section D, it calls for a possible detention tank. I thought the detention tank was actual, that it wasn't a possible detention tank. So I don't know if that's just needs to be corrected wording-wise, or is there something else happening that I'm not aware of? Next question is on page 6 of the cover letter. It calls for the impervious surface. So it says it's 0.86 acres of impervious surface, but then on page 9, which is in section E, chart E, it says the completed project will have 1.11 acres of impervious surface. So I don't know where that quarter of an acre goes. I think it makes a difference. It's a quarter of an acre less or quarter of an acre. You're less than an acre of impervious, or now you're more than an acre impervious. And I think that matters given the type of soil and what we have going on this piece of property. So I just want to make sure I'm reading that correctly.
Can you tell me which letter you're reading from? Because I'm looking at the
We're all searching
listing.
for
There's a cover letter here.
The first the cover letter, that's the first document on the list.
What's the date of the letter?
I didn't write that down.
Okay.
But it's,
Because the letter I'm looking at here, the cover letter is 2 pages long.
okay.
January 7th, so.
Then it's the second-
You lost me when you turned to
I
page
thought it
4
was your
or 6.
It would have been, so, the engineering letter, could that have been it? I have it written as the cover letter,
I think it's,
on the, well, it's clearly a longer letter.
we'll find it, we just want
Yeah, I just want to be able to follow what
Right,
you're saying,
right.
to, we have
because,
your comments, we
yeah.
just wanted to see what you're referring to.
It's the one that had to be filled out, a lot of,
Oh, the environmental
Check-
impact statement,
Yeah, okay.
the EAF, the environmental assessment
yes,
form.
there you go.
okay,
There you
yeah,
go.
and that was attached to the
Yes,
cover
that's
letter.
part of
Okay,
it. It
got
comes up
got it.
on our list as the first
Yes,
document, but I don't know if it
okay.
comes up
Yeah,
on your list.
It is
Okay.
on the website, right?
Okay,
Yeah,
yes,
mhm.
yes.
Yes.
So those are the two questions on that. The third question is, the documents also mention a 28-month timeline. I just want to know if that's, when does that, you think that will start, and when, and is that really something in your experience? I'm not going to hold you to it. I'm not going to come back here in a year and say, you said that it was going to be. I just think that residents should have some idea of what the procedure is. You know, we don't have to see your critical path method schedule, but, you know, the retention tank and the road first, and that should take 4 months. Then the first 2 houses, the first 3 houses. What should we expect as residents, as amount of trucks coming through, what kind of noise is going to be generated, just some kind of general time. This is a major project. Yep. This isn't just someone, you know, taking their property and dividing it in 2 and putting up 2 houses, 3 houses. I think that there should be some kind of timeline so that we know what to expect as residents, you know, how many trucks will be coming and going and how long this is going to take, and anything that's going to create noise, that kind of thing. I mean, I know we have the, you know, Monday to Friday, 8 to 6 in there already. That's great part of our zoning code. But is the 28 months a valid number, and when does that start? Because I know we have a lot of approvals that have to go through. It's a state approval, it's a town approval, it's all kinds of stuff. So, and I know that probably can't be answered right now, but if in the next batch of documents that come through, if there can be some kind of relation to what is actually going to be happening here.
Sure.
Great, and that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Who prepares the EAF?
The applicant prepares the part one, and then we do the parts 2 and 3. So that is a question about part 1.
Right. So can we ask the applicant to respond to those 3 points, please?
Dan Collins, Hudson Engineering. In regard to the impervious coverage, the actual impervious coverage will be a 1.11 acre increase. That's the correct one. We'd have to change that in the AF for the first reference to the .86. In regard to the timing, obviously, that would be a question for Boschkom as it moves forward. But typically what we'll do first is usually you construct the road and all utilities and stormwater for the roadway. Make sure that's in. The utilities for the water and the sewer would have to be approved and approved by the health department in order to put them in service. So we'd have to have them in service first before you can start building additionally the houses. The timing for that, I mean, that's obviously up to get Boschman again, but that would need to be done first, and then each individual house would need to come in, which would connect into the utilities and all the
So
individual
28 is from breaking ground to finishing the last house?
I'm sorry, what was
The
that?
28 months is the duration from starting excavation or whatever to the completion of the
Or
last
does
house?
that include this application process as well?
So, well, no, the 28 months includes, as Mr. Collins indicated, actually, the first step is making sure that the roadway is in, the utilities are in, the stormwater management, all that is in before there's any house construction. And then, based on market conditions, we're expecting that once that project starts, once all that infrastructure, that would be kind of like the start date, and then at the end of the 28 months, we would have completion of the project with the construction of the homes. Again, that depends on market conditions. If anybody knows the real estate market here in Westchester County, it's pretty good. So we're being perhaps aggressive in that schedule, but that's what we would anticipate. And given that Mr. Kukoi does this for a living, he does construction, he understands the market, we think that that's a reasonable expectation from beginning to end. And then also, I think the comment was raised about noise. Your ordinance does cover construction activity during the day. We have to adhere to all those requirements as part of the construction process.
So just to be clear, the 28 months is for the construction of the residences?
No,
or
it would
for
be.
the preparation for the construction of
Right.
residences?
No, the 28 months is the start of construction, in other words, getting the site prepped,
Right.
grading, and then construction of the cul-de-sac. And remember, too, that there are also 2 homes, actually 3 homes, that aren't adjacent to and have access to the cul-de-sac. So those could be developed in advance of the cul-de-sac being constructed. But primarily, the big-ticket item here is constructing the cul-de-sac, getting all the utilities and the stormwater in, and then building those homes around the cul-de-sac after that. And so the timeline is 28 months from beginning of construction to the sale of the last home.
Oh, okay, that's
Yeah.
clear.
There was also one open question from the resident that.
That was the detention tank?
Possible
That was the
detention
detention
tank,
tank. It's not a possible, that's part of the plan, the detention tank for the store. Yeah, that's what I thought. Well, you could say that,
Yep.
not me.
Mr. Collins? Yeah.
That's got to be put in.
I thought
That's,
so.
that detention tank's there, that has to be put in.
Right,
That's
there's
basically the main control for
No
everything.
question,
all
the
the
project
stormwater, so.
doesn't work without it.
And
And
that's Dan Collins.
Just one other just comment about the stormwater management. So the EAF is not the only place for the information for this, and there's a stormwater pollution prevention plan that's posted on the town's website if you want to see much more detail about the proposed stormwater.
Okay, thank you. Other comments from the public about this application?
Richard Slavanko, 200 Beach Street. Hello again.
Good evening, nice to see you.
I appreciate your summary. It was, I think, encapsulating a lot of the issues that have gone before and why the other one was a cursed development versus this one. My questions are fairly simple. First, I'm going to reiterate, because it sounded a little circuitous, but it is from the time that they're going to pull up the first construction truck to do the infrastructure improvements till the anticipated market conditions allow the sale of the last home, or the forced sale of the last home is 28 months? Is that what we're understanding?
That was represented, yes. We're not quite sure. I'm sure we could ask them to readdress that, but right now, that's exactly.
just wanna
It's
make
a
sure-
best, it's a best estimate.
No, I understand, but I wasn't sure if we were including the road in that, which is
Yes,
a big deal.
absolutely. He made it
And I
very
know
clear.
with the Ambrosia, they took a long time till they filled in because they didn't have necessarily perfect timing.
Doesn't have a crystal ball. I'm sure he'd
No,
like to
no,
get it done.
I'm trying to think about where, I know they tried to sell the improved cul-de-sac at one point. It was during the Great Recession. I think they were all caught up in. My real question is, of course, traffic-related, and that is, when they're constructing the cul-de-sac and the units off of Highland, my question is, will they at any time be accessing major equipment, materials, and so forth from the beach side? Because we don't know when they're building those homes and so forth, and that would present a real issue because any trucks is a problem. So that's what I'd like to have clarified. Because to me, when you do the negative secra, or in some process should be stipulated that the construction, other than for those two homes, should all be accessed from the Highland side. That's my point.
Thank you. Is construction logistics part of the CEQA?
Yes, as some of the short-term impacts, yes.
Oh. So we can ask the applicant to address that comment
The
now?
applicant's ready to
Yeah,
answer.
we can ask, right, we can ask them to address
Yes,
that
yes,
now, and it could be
yes.
addressed.
So
Yeah.
typically in these types of projects, before construction begins, there's a coordination meeting with the building department, planning, fire, police, to go over logistics about how the site gets accessed, the type of work that's going to be done. So all of that is going to be coordinated with the town. With respect to construction equipment coming in through Beach Street, for the cul-de-sac, there's no need to have any equipment coming in off of Beach Street. There will need to be construction equipment to access the two lots that are off of Beach Street. That's not unreasonable. But we're not planning on having any equipment have to access through Beach Street to get to the cul-de-sac for that portion of the construction.
Do you know whether, what the sequence is? I think you suggested earlier that you may be developing the Beach Street lots, even before the groundwork gets underway, the utilities and road building and on the cul-de-sac. Do you know, well, when will you know definitively when you are building the Beach Street, the two Beach Street homes, and in what sequence relative to the cul-de-sac?
Yeah, well, I think that if you think about what's necessary in order to develop the two Beach Street lots, you need to have the water, the sewer, which is available right now in Beach Street. You need to make sure that both of those, Dan, correct me if I'm wrong, both of those lots will have individual stormwater management systems. So essentially, those lots could proceed in advance of the cul-de-sac lots being prepared and sold. So, and I suspect that Mr. Kukoy, given that you would have a situation or a condition where those lots could be developed almost right away, that those would be advanced before the other development
Yeah.
concludes.
You see where I'm going with this, of course, is if
Yes.
you're developing those first, you're not going to be bringing equipment over them.
No, correct, absolutely. right.
Okay.
So,
And Mr. Smith is correct, we do have that pre-construction planning meeting to set forth the items that he addressed.
Okay. So this can be addressed at that point.
Yes.
It's concerned. Thank you.
and we also have on the record that Beach is going first, right?
No, I think that's, you didn't state, you didn't commit to Beach
To that,
going
but
first.
you
No.
said
You
likely would-
suggested
I'm
it's
saying-
likely to go first.
That's the logical sequence, because you would be able to advance those lots without having to wait for the cul-de-sac and the cul-de-sac lots to be ready to be sold. So from a construction financing standpoint, it allows for
That's right.
income to be generated to address the other issues.
Yeah, but
going
we're
forward.
not going to require that so long as we have other means of addressing the concern about larger equipment not being used to build
Correct.
the Beach Street homes. not coming through Beach Street.
Right.
I don't think it's going to affect our secret determination. Okay. More comments from the public? No. Okay. You're good. You're safe for now.
Oh.
Okay. So I think it's, we have said that the plot has to be cleaned up a little bit before we do anything, right? Because there's stuff missing from it. So that brings us back to us. Good. So if you guys don't have any more comments and there's no comments from the public, I guess I will make a motion to,
By the way, bottom line is, we did approve this application, and it's the same application, right? Except
Yeah,
it's
you didn't approve it, you
changed.
adopted a negative declaration under secret for the
Yeah,
prior
that's-
configuration, yes.
Yes, I'm sorry, that's what I meant. We did previously adopt a negative declaration when we had, in my view, and I think in the view of at least the neighbors on Beach Street, a more problematic application. This is slightly larger, but there's also a bigger property involved, and certainly the configuration now going towards Highland, I think everyone's recognizing, certainly the Beach Street residents, that that is a major improvement, to the extent that that is part of our, was a consideration when we did our initial secret determination.
And I've circulated to the board the prior secret determination parts 2 and 3 with part 3 revised to kind of replace the traffic evaluation from the prior application with the analysis that we've received for the cul-de-sac coming in from Highland. Otherwise, the other findings remain the same.
Okay.
I'd say that's what it says in the motion I'm about to make. Okay, so then, with all that put away, I'm going to make a motion to adopt a secret and negative declaration for application 23-02-203 Beach Street and 104 and 108 Highland Avenue subdivision based on the short environmental assessment forms, part 1, 2, and 3, as revised to evaluate the 11 lot proposal with access to the subdivision road from Highland Avenue.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good with that. So then I'm going to make a motion to ask the planning department staff to create a conditional preliminary plot approval resolution for consideration by the planning board at the February 27, 2005 meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
And then let's finish up, and I make a motion to continue the public hearing on this application, 203 Beach Street and 104 and 108 Highland Avenue subdivision to the planning board's February 27th, 2025 meeting for the consideration of the conditional preliminary plot approval resolution.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And if for that meeting, you could submit the preliminary plat just updated to address the kind of cleanup comments raised by the town engineer.
Yeah, will do.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Have a good night.
Have a good night.
Public is still open?
It's still open.
Yes. The next application is 2501 14 Shady Lane.
Thank you. You can go, yeah. Thank you.
Take care. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Bye, Merrick.
Hello, everyone. I'm 14 Shady Lane's owner. Is that right? So,
Can we have your name?
Your name.
Your name, please?
my name is Tianying Xu. I resided in Scarsdale and own the 14 Shady Lane. So my architect suddenly couldn't attend the meeting, so I come here and state my projects. So I have a brief summary about the project. This project has been previously approved by the Architectural Review Board and the Planning Board, and we already got the building permit. So we has been to construction already finished like 70 to 80% already. So when we demolition, the contractor noticed when you're facing the house on the right wall is rodent, all the woods are damaged. So I think it's good to changing the woods So we just changing the left side wall, all the beam structure. So we didn't changing any plan like previous approved, only changing some material for the existing position. And also the existing foundation is there, we didn't change anything. So if you want me to repeat the work scope, I can. This is original work scope is to remove the second floor and a portion of the first floor. So right now we just like change the left, the first floor left wall. That's something changed. After the change, we did the survey, the new survey for the foundation survey. So on the each setback is 1010. So we satisfy the setback. And the original scope had an approved stormwater plan. This is a remain unchanged. So original plan was non-compliant for the side yard setback, existing legal non-conforming. New scope is fully zoning compliant. So original scope was approved by the Architectural Review Board. The design remained unchanged. That's my statement for the project.
Okay.
Yeah.
It would be helpful, it would be very helpful if we had your architect here, because I understand, exactly what your position is, that you found, something that you weren't expecting. I need to know, the scope of what that problem was. And I also, I certainly would, and I would think I probably speak for many of the neighboring residents, because we were inundated, the planning board earlier today, I believe, with something of a form email that a number of different residents sent in, some a little more expansive than others. But certainly this board and this board member takes very seriously, you build what we approve, and you don't engage in self-help. And if you do have an unanticipated problem, you reach out to the planning department and determine how to deal with it. I certainly would want to know in the first instance that what is being built is basically an exact copy, an exact version of what we approved, with the potential replacement of rotting parts. I mean, I think we could probably retroactively deal with that if that's all there is. But I haven't seen very much that shows me that that things aren't being changed from the prior plan. And obviously, if there are aspects of it that are being changed, then it's not the same application that was approved by this board, because we did approve this application. And that has consequences.
Oh, okay. But this, I have seen some email exchanging from an architect with our board meeting members. From this morning to the noon to the afternoon. So I think also, we're welcoming for the inspector to take a look at the framing. We almost to call them and waiting them to get the framing inspection. After we found the rodent problem, so we follow the architect instruction, and he knows everything. I think he can update it later to you for the drawing, if you want to reflect some details. I think he can do that. Just today, he couldn't make it. I couldn't push him. Yeah, so that's why.
What this board does is we look at the visual impact of applications from the street. I understand you had trouble with the wood inside, but what we care most about is what it looks like. So what we really need to see is a presentation showing us what we approved and what was built. And then
It is being built.
It's not being built, 70 or 80%.
Yeah.
And then evaluate if we think there's a difference, and then figure out what to do next. So although you've made a very good description of what happened, and we appreciate the conditions you found, we really can't do any voting or anything on this until we know what was there
Yep.
and what we approved.
The other thing that's, and I'm a lawyer by trade, it's rather convenient to have you representing what your architect's telling you, and I'm sure you're doing so, very faithfully to what you're being told, but you're not an architect, are you?
I'm the owner, also the contractor. So I have license in Westchester County. My company called E-Owners. And also, so that's why I know all the details. I can represent very confidently. So that's why.
Okay, but what we'd still like to see is.
Well, who made the assessment that the foundation, or the parts of the foundation that were not part of the original application had to be replaced? Who made that assessment? Was it you or was it your architect?
We contracting with our worker and also the architect. We saw this is really, really bad condition. And I think that's good to change the good things for the homeowner. And this is a project. It's not like only about the economy. We willing to spend more money to change the good thing and the right thing to do the right way. So he monitor everything. He knows that. And maybe some point we lost the contact with communication. He didn't read his email on time, but that not meaning he doesn't know the thing. And we discuss all the time. And he can provide more details later, like tomorrow. Yeah.
Okay.
So hopefully we can.
You said you're the owner of the property?
Yes, I'm the owner.
Are you intending on living on this property?
Not really.
No, you're
yeah,
building
I have
it
to
to
be
sell
honest.
it, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have
'cause
to
that's-
sell. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So
I think that you need to come back next month and tell us what you did. There's nothing we could do right now. Thank you for presenting it, but we need to see it, to evaluate it, to make a determination if we're going to approve it as built.
Yeah, we're going to need to see a comparison of what we approved and what it is that you're telling us you now have to build because of the problems that you uncovered in the in the repair or the building process.
Right, because
We need to see a comparison, and we need to see that, that you're being faithful at a minimum to the plan that we approved, that this isn't a case of you determining that, I don't like that as much as, I don't like what the planning board approved, I'm going to make an improvement on it.
right, it's almost like we have to start over again. We have to see what is you built, we have to see plans for that, and then we have to see a comparison to what was proposed initially in order to approve this application. We can't do it tonight based on a description, and hopefully you come back next month with enough material for us to make that determination.
Yeah. You do understand, by the way, that this board, if we just gave an approval and then everyone could just sort of determine, well, I like this better.
No, I don't.
Yeah.
I fully understand, but you can give us like a conditional something because we wanted to keep going. The neighborhood is very quiet, and all the neighbors very appreciate our job, and we have very good relations. We wanted to.
Okay, I'm
continue
not
the
so
work and
sure. I'm not
finish.
so sure about that based on what I've seen.
So the answer is no.
Yeah.
No, we can't give you conditional approval based on what we've heard so far.
Yeah, we're gonna have to dot all the i's and cross all the t's here. We've got to create, and that's just the way it's got to be.
Gentlemen, any?
I would say also the root cause and just more information of what exactly happened to cause that as well. You said something was either defect or structural element, so we need to know more information about that of what's causing this change as well.
What are your questions?
Sorry, just maybe I could reiterate, but my understanding is you had something approved, you were doing your work, you saw something that seemed either defective or a structural element, so you started making more changes. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yeah, we saw some is that question you mean I saw some damaged, the bad condition, I changed some good condition for the new structure.
Right, so that
Yeah.
bad condition,
So you
I think
have to,
it'd be good to be previewed to what that condition was and just some reasoning behind the changes that you needed to make. And then lastly, ultimately, we need to see those changes you're proposing, is what we're trying to say.
I understand.
So
I
the
understand.
before, the cause, and then what's going to happen after? What are you proposing?
So the
what it looks
cost
like now.
difference, yes. Okay.
Yeah, because I understand that the reason that the neighbors became so upset is because what was approved was, I think you were removing the second story, but you were going to maintain almost most of the first story, and then the neighbors one day saw just the base foundation of the house. Which
The
was
base
different.
foundation, original approved the plan, we didn't change anything. Only
Correct.
the wood structure, some rotten, bad condition.
That's,
Okay.
Yeah.
that's what was-
Okay, so we need a further explanation on that, and from my perspective, I need to see that what you're now proposing to build, I need to see a full plan for that, and compare that to what we approved, to make sure that it is, if not exactly like it, that it is very true to what we approved, recognizing that you're putting new building materials in there because you found defective ones, you found rotting ones. So that's what I would think we would need to see.
I mean, it seems like someone has already looked at what you did versus and put some comments here about the stormwater management plan. Has that changed? Are there any variances that you need? Are the finishes different? It's not just the pretty pictures, it's the whole application.
And there were also differing requirements that the town has for when you're doing repairs and when you're doing what's effectively a tear down. And when you get the house to the foundations, that's considered a tear down.
Correct.
And so there are differing requirements that you need to go through with the building department, and those have to be complied with.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah, we already noticed engineering.
Okay,
Yeah, so.
Right,
they
that relates to
knows
our
that.
stormwater management requirements, correct.
exactly. Okay.
So it's up to your architect now to come up with something that we can review and approve, or review. I can't tell you what it is. The onus is on him. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you. So this is,
Mr.
if you're
Chairman?
done, we will see.
I just had a question. Given the amount of, I understand you're adjourning the application, but given the amount of feedback that you've received, are you going to open the public hearing tonight, or?
Have to,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes, absolutely.
Hopefully they,
And by the way, we do recognize that somebody circulated an email for all of you to send in, so we don't need every one of you to come up and say the same thing. We get it.
yeah, based on, good point. I didn't see the email, but I guess I surmised that I know what it said. And please note that we're all on the same page here. Thank you. I'm going to open up the public hearing. You can get comments from the public about what's been done, and then we're going to adjourn your application to the next meeting. Any other questions? We're good? Cool. Hold on. Yeah, let me open, there's no public hearing yet, but you could start walking. No, go. So then, where is this?
Yeah, we have to formally open.
Right, so, public comment. So I make a motion to open the public hearing on application 2501, 14 Shady Lane.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Gentlemen, you're up. If you could step away, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, just please state your name, comments, name, address,
Michael Lane,
and
16
comments.
Scarsdale Avenue. I live in Green Knolls, not too far away from Shady Lane. I just have a question about the construction company said that the project is between 72% and 80% done. So in essence, are they asking for approval now that they can continue the project? Are you going to have a stay on the project at this point? So that's just my question.
Okay,
Yeah.
I got it.
There's a stop work order
Yeah.
currently in place, so construction can't continue until this
Yeah.
is resolved.
We're not touching that.
There's a
Yeah.
stop work on it right now.
Hi, Reed Corman, 10 Shady Lane. I'll try to represent as many people as I can so that this is short.
Thank you.
So a couple comments. The source of the damage that was noticed upon partial demolition of the second floor and most likely caused the entirety of the demolition was entirely self-inflicted, in my opinion. I have a picture, if you would like to see, of the status of the building on August 22nd, 2024. I can bring this up and show you.
Well, we should make it available to the public.
Yeah, I'm saying, how can we get that on the?
Yeah, if you could just send it by email so that we can make it a part of the record.
Yeah, maybe hold it up here too, so we can.
Yeah, so Gary can
Yeah,
zoom
just
on
hold it
that?
up for a moment so we can get Gary can zoom in on it.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah,
That works.
let's see.
Good.
Yeah, okay.
It's really good.
Yeah.
That works.
Okay. So the self-infliction, in your view, came how and where?
You could.
Yeah. There was a dormer up on the second floor. Is it near that area?
So I would say 2/3 of the top floor was completely exposed to the elements, and Hurricane Ernesto arrived later that day and dropped 6+ inches of rain on the open floor of the house, which undoubtedly caused a good deal of damage to the rest of the building. So if it would have been covered properly, it would not have happened. The dumpster in front of the house, as well as the construction material behind in the picture that I showed, were covered appropriately because they were likely aware of the conditions that were coming. So wasn't really sure why that was left that way, which is why I took that picture. There were also multiple points that I won't dwell on, but there was a great deal of trash that was strewn about the neighborhood and in my yard after that storm, which I had to clean up. There was damage to my neighbor's curb, which has been reported due to the removal of dumpsters and hitting the curb and things like that. There was construction before 7 a.m. on some dates. There was construction on weekends. A lot of this was already reported. There was improper silt fences, so a great deal of mud was on the road during this construction. The only reason there wasn't more is because we had a tremendous drought that everyone probably remembers. And the targeted resale for this was told to me to be over $2 million, and the only possible way to reach that target sale would be to completely demolish the house. So this is...
There does sound like there's a lot of, I don't know if you're done. Are you done?
That is the majority of what I'd like to say, yes.
Yeah.
I don't know what motivation is. Thank you for pointing out those things. As we said, we are right now focusing on what was built versus what was approved versus what was built. I imagine all of the points you bring up, one way or another, may impact what they did, but right now, we can only review.
It sounds to me like there are issues that the neighborhood has with this.
That may have.
Yeah.
It seems like poor building practices too, but.
Mr. Chairman, there's one thing for the benefit of those watching at home and for those of you who are here. To the extent that there are complaints about construction either after hours or on weekends, which, by the way, a condition of the building permits that are issued is that construction is only supposed to take place within certain time frames, only during the week, not on weekends. Unfortunately, our code enforcement officer and our building inspector work during the week. I would encourage you, I'm the one that enforces when summonses are issued for this in court. What I would tell you is that to the extent that you see construction anywhere, this project or other projects, that falls outside of the time frames that are allowable, that if it falls on a weekend or a holiday and no one is present in the building department, that you contact the police, let them know, they'll send someone out, and depending on how extensive the work is being done, they will either have them stop the work, or they'll actually issue a summons and have them stop the work. So there is a mechanism for you to follow up on that, okay?
And I just also wanted to clarify one thing, which I'm sure you already know, but I just wanted to make it clear. We don't have a prohibition on demolition per se in our town code. So if the applicant would have come in with a proposal to demolish the house, it wouldn't have been rejected on that basis. It's just that the proposal was not for that, it was for an addition, and that's why they're returning to your board now.
Correct. Yeah, and that's the application that was before this board, that was the application that was noticed to the neighborhood. And what's going forward, and you know, it's not our role here to determine whether this was deliberate, whether it was just careless. I don't think anyone in your neighborhood probably wants a half-built house to remain there. You know, so our goal here is to find a way forward, and certainly we don't want to set bad precedents.
Right.
We you know, I in particular am very sensitive to that, that particular concern. But I think we've outlined, you know, what we need to see so that we can proactively move this forward in a way that is going to get us as close to where we all expected to be with this.
Are there any, do we have someone from the building department could just visit the site now if it's going to stay dormant for the next month to make sure there's no problems out there?
Sure, do you mean continuing construction problems or just
No,
securing the site?
Is site
issues?
secure? Is there any
Sure, we
unsightliness
can
that could
certainly do
be?
that.
Maybe both.
I don't know, how does everything look right now out there?
I think it's probably a lot more secure now that the foundation is covered and the walls are up. I don't think it's a substantial issue now.
Okay, I mean, if you
I can
wanted
show
to
you a
send
picture
someone
of the
to
current
Yes.
state if you would like it.
to make sure there's nothing dangerous in their neighborhood right now, and
Sure.
But building practices is one thing, and we can address that in an approval of a revised application, but we need to know what it is that we're approving, so.
This is current state, if you would like to see.
it's almost done.
That's, yeah, that's,
Okay, at least it doesn't look
Yeah.
like it's
If you
under
could just-
construction.
Can you
Could
put
just
that up there?
display that
Yeah.
for, and Gary, if you could,
Oh, wow.
Okay, whoop, oh, careful. Okay, that's fine. We get the idea. So it's not too unsightly, it's just not done yet. Okay,
yeah, okay.
you're welcome.
All right.
Where'd the applicant, where'd the construction person go?
She's here.
She's there.
Oh, she's right there.
Yeah, okay.
Sort of lost you. Hold on, let's see if there's,
Sorry.
let's see if there's any more comments from the public. Any more comments from the public regarding this application? No? Great, thank you.
Good.
Do you have any closing comments, or?
I want to answer the gentleman just raised, we will sell over 2 million. I never said that.
That's
That's
kind of
a definite
immaterial. Yeah,
rumor, yeah.
look, if you can get 2 million, great, but I don't
That's
think, that's not really our issue,
Yeah.
right? You understand what we want to see?
At the very beginning, yes, it's kind of like a mess. You know, Scarsdale, we can work on Saturday. So that's why we're confusing with Eastchester. So when we got a call from the town, we definitely just like shut down everything on Saturday. And beginning the approval, we got a sealed fence because we're assuming the first floor we don't get out anything. So we just like delay to get a sealed fence. When we have a storm, it's too late. So I feel sorry for that, but we definitely to keep the ground clean later on that. Yeah.
I would think you want to be a good neighbor going forward.
Yeah.
From what I heard, there's some speculation about how much of a good neighbor you were to the people there, so.
I always feel because they're passing by me and always talk to me, and I didn't see any like hate face, you know, so
Okay.
for me, they all good.
Well,
Yeah.
you should be coordinating with the building and planning departments to make sure that for the next meeting, that you're giving us what we need to see so that we can move this forward, all right?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
definitely will push my architect to get all the details before that.
Yep.
Yeah.
And just to summarize that, because after the meeting, we'll issue you a memo giving you a list of the information that was requested. So what we'd like to see is a comparison plan of the previous approved site plan and elevation to what's proposed. Also a description verifying the reason for the demolition of the entire building. And then whatever additional information the applicant thinks would make the case for the approval of this.
Is there additional information that has not yet been provided, whether as part of the initial application or subsequently, that would be required now because this was a tear down?
Right. The main difference is the extent of the stormwater management plan. So, you know, we have a zero net increase in runoff for the 50-year storm for additions and alterations, and for the 110, 100-year storms for tear downs. So it's that stormwater management plan, which the applicant's design professional is aware is needed, and I think it's currently being worked on as far as I understand it. So that would also be submitted.
Okay, good.
Thank
So
you.
you'll get some form of a memo
Yeah.
to
Correct.
the applicant?
Yes.
Right,
Okay.
but her memo is not direction to your applicant alone. It's the beginning.
Yeah, it's the bare minimum.
Yes.
And then any additional information
So
to
you-
address the comments that you're hearing.
Good point.
Okay.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So this stays open. Right, so I make a motion to leave the public hearing for application 250114 Shady Lane open.
Second.
Can do that, right? All in favor?
Aye.
Great. Thank you. So everyone here is for Empire Bagels. The next application is 2502 Empire Bagels, 288 White Plains Road. Yeah, if you guys don't have anything about the bagels, you're all on your way. Thank you.
One more? Isn't it five?
Oh, yeah, and another
Yeah.
one after that, too.
Jim?
Damn, I'm trying to get out of here.
Yeah, we got silent.
Silent. Oh, that's just a bay window. Yeah, you're right. Bagels. Oh, no.
It was the neighbors, so, yeah.
That's fine. You did a good job. Hey, John, how are you?
Good. Good evening. Happy New Year, everyone. My name is John Yanacito. I'm an architect, and I'm representing Empire Bagels, the proposed tenant at 288 White Plains Road. I have with me here tonight the owner of Empire Bagels. So on the site plan, just quickly show you. So highlighted in red here is the subject lot. And then the hatched portion here shows the extent of the first floor tenant space. This is an adjacent lot that's owned by the same owner, which will come up in my summary, so just pointed that out. So the proposed scope of work will include a change of use from a gelato cafe shop to a bagel shop, and we're requesting a special permit for the proposed type 1 food service establishment. All the proposed work is internal. There's no proposed change to the exterior of the structure. The new space will have a service counter and a couple of tables, a few tables, and most of the food will be carried out. We're also requesting a referral to the zoning board for 2 area variances. The existing property is currently non-conforming with respect to all zoning requirements, including the setbacks, the building coverage, off-street parking, and off-street loading. Based on a review of the property file, there's no record of any variances being granted for any of these non-conforming conditions on this lot. Over the past 50 years, this subject tenant space has been used as a auto repair shop, a grocery shop, a pet shop, and then most recently a gelato cafe shop. The proposed change in use to the existing tenant space will not create an increase to any of the pre-existing non-conforming conditions. But because the existing tenant space has been unoccupied for over a year, we need to go to the zoning board for 2 variances. The first was for the existing non-conforming off-street parking spaces, and the second is for the existing non-conforming off-street loading space. So the existing required off-street parking space is non-conforming, where 29 spaces are required and 0 are provided. The proposed change in use will not increase the number of required parking spaces. The deficiency will remain the same as the previously approved use. There are some metered parking spaces available down the street, across the street and down the street on White Plains Road. There's also metered parking spaces available on Prospect Avenue and on Albanese Place, which is down the block and around. Also, similar to the previous tenants that occupied the space, parking is available on the adjacent property, which is owned by the same person, owns both lots. But there is no written agreement, so she just allows the tenants in this building to use parking on her lot.
Is that Lisa Vidiella?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that was going to be my question.
The second variance is for the existing required off-street loading, and it is not conforming with the total of 1 space required and 0 provided. Same thing, the proposed change will not increase the number of required off-street loading spaces. The deficiency will be the same as the previously approved use. Deliveries are currently made through the front entrance on White Plains Road or through the side entrance, and the side entrance is accessible through the adjacent lot in the parking lot and on the side of the building. Okay, so the proposed use will comply with all the standard and individual requirements for the Type 1 food service establishment conditions. The proposed food service establishment will replace an existing food service establishment that had existed for 14 years. The existing rooftop HVAC equipment will remain unchanged. The existing kitchen hood ventilation system will be replaced with the newer system. The waste and recyclables are currently stored in receptacles on the side of the property, which is actually on the neighboring property, and will remain unchanged, but they can also be stored internally and just taken out to the curb on days of pickup. The waste and recyclables will be picked up by a private waste management company twice a week, but this can be increased if it's needed. And then finally, the hours of operation for the bagel shop will be Monday through Saturday from 5:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., and on Sundays from 5:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. Thank you for your time, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Do you know whether, when the Pane and Gelato opened up 14 some odd years ago, did it go through a planning board approval process? I can't really remember.
You know, I don't know. I didn't find anything in the file.
Yeah.
But they did have a hood, so I don't know if that hood was added later, and somehow they got by the approval process.
I'm trying to figure out how we dealt with the parking, or how the parking was dealt with. May not have been us who did it, because I know Lisa Vidiello runs the insurance agency.
Yes,
right,
she owns the
yeah.
insurance agency. Yes.
And I think there's a nail salon as well.
Yes.
That's in that same building on, what's 282? Is that?
Yeah, 280. I think that's the address.
Yeah.
282, or it should be on the. Yeah, 282.
282. All right, and because I was a frequenter of Pane and Gelato before it closed, I would always pull into, when I wasn't walking, I'd pull in with my car and park in that lot, and there was never an issue.
Right.
But
So
yeah, one thing that you might want to consider is we don't really have any information on what the parking utilization on that lot is and how it would align with the operation hours of the bagel shop. One thing that we typically do have for special permits is we retain our consultants to study various aspects of the application. So if you wanted to, you could ask to retain our traffic consultant to do a parking utilization analysis, either for that property or for the public parking in the vicinity. Because, as it stands, while custom and practice may use that lot, it's not a certainty that they'll remain in common ownership, and there's no legal right at this point, and we don't have the information about what the utilization is there.
yeah, and I do know that the previous usage was, the sense I got at least was that it was more of an evening place to go as opposed to a morning and early afternoon place.
Yeah.
You know, good observation.
Because there are, you know, certainly the hours of the insurance agency are standard 9 to 5 type hours.
Yeah, so I did, after I saw the memo that you had sent out, I did do a little research on what the parking is on that lot. So the nail salon requires 4.1 spaces based on the square footage of the nail salon. The office space requires 7.1, so when that's rounded up, it's 12 spaces total that are required for that property. There are currently 21 spaces on that property, so there is an excess of 9 spaces on that property now. So there should always be some open spaces there. Now, the other thing is the nail salon, the normal hours of operation there are 9 to 7, and they're closed on Tuesdays. The insurance office is 9 to 5, and they're closed on Sundays, but they might also be closed on Saturdays. I'm not 100% sure if they're open on Saturdays. So the bagel shop from 5:30 in the morning until 9 o'clock, essentially the lot is empty. So for those hours, which will probably be the busiest time for the bagel shop, and maybe at lunchtime. But certainly the mornings are probably a more busy time. Is that correct for bagels? So during that period, the lot should be available there. Now, again, there is nothing in writing that says, you know, if she decides to sell the property tomorrow, that parking continues to be used. I did speak to her about this, and she's willing to put something in writing or whatever needs to be done in order to carry that parking over with the tenants of this building, if it need be.
It would be in her interest to do so if she's deriving revenue from this property.
Yeah.
I don't think
And she has no intent, I mean, she's been there for 30 years, and she has no intentions of selling the property, and she's been dealing with tenants in this building the same way for the past 30 years. Everyone who's come in there has always been able to use the parking.
For the record, I think I've been buying insurance from her for almost 29 years, so, all from that location.
But the method she's been dealing with it is basically allowing them to use their spots, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
With nothing in writing or
Well, it might be in the lease. Is there something in the lease about parking on her?
Yes.
There is, yeah, so.
Okay, why don't you, state your name for the record and answer that question.
My name is Jay D'Angelo, owner of Empire Bagels. What do you want to know?
Just, you're representing to us that the lease that have you already entered into the lease?
Yes, yeah, I signed it.
Okay,
Yeah,
and that lease addresses the issue of parking?
Yes,
right?
it allows me to
Okay.
park on our property.
Okay.
Is there a number of spots or just a general allowance?
General, yeah. I've been there for the last couple of weeks, and it's pretty been half empty. When I
Yeah.
get there practically all day.
We would want to review the terms of the lease. The issue is on severance of title, right?
Yes.
Does that lease provision control? Is there some kind of provision that would negate it? Because what you wouldn't want is for that, for lack of a better term, state lot to be sold and then render this property without parking, if that's what you're relying on in granting this approval.
That's right.
But isn't,
Based on my conversation with the owner, she's willing to put something in writing to that effect that if the property does sell, the parking would continue to be used according to the lease.
in the lease which he currently has? Put a provision in the lease which the gentleman currently has?
Yes.
Yeah, it would be better for the duration of the time that building uses that lot for the parking to remain with the building, because that lease could terminate, but the use could not stop, because uses are related to the use and not the user. So a new tenant can come in, continue to operate the same use with leases of a different term. And it would be better if it was in the nature of like a declaration recorded against the property, providing for so long as these buildings stand, that parking right is available.
This is when you have a land use attorney.
Yeah, and that's something, that's beyond my scope. Yeah, I think that we'll have to hire an attorney and get this.
But there's a way to make this a little
Yes.
more ironclad.
It's not an overly complicated agreement, but a formal agreement that gets recorded so that, subsequent purchasers are put on notice of it.
Okay.
I think an attorney should write up what it is they're looking for and present it to her, right?
Yeah.
And see if she agrees.
Yeah.
Just so you cover yourself. God forbid something
What do we want to
happens.
do about?
Yeah, what do we want to do about, we don't really, what were we going to say, I'm
consultant.
sorry? Yeah, what do we want to do with consultant? Because I like what you're saying, and I believe you all the time, John, and I do appreciate that we think there'll always be spots available, but it is kind of our responsibility to look into it a little bit more.
Yeah, and I think if there's 9 spaces available here, and now we're asking for 29, do we ask for 20? I mean,
You're going to need a variance in any event.
Right.
If somehow it's determined that you have sort of a right to 9 of them or to whatever's not being utilized, that probably is going to help you before the zoning board of appeals.
Right.
But the zoning board may want to know as well, what is the state of parking in this area? And I think that's where it might be helpful. And I'm sorry to, there's another obstacle, another burden. But I think ultimately it will inure to your benefit to have a report, a traffic report.
Okay, so
Right.
we get a traffic study done, and then we present it to the consultant?
And then the doctor
Yeah.
reviews it, and I think we have to, because then you're going to go to zoning, and they're just going to ask the same thing.
Okay.
It's all conjecture then, yeah.
Yeah, there's, the only off-street parking that's available there, or on-street parking, is those metered spaces down the block. There's no municipal parking anywhere in that
Yeah,
neighborhood.
that doesn't help.
That's
you.
right, that's right. Mhm.
And it would, not a full-blown traffic study, but just really a parking utilization study, I think
Yes.
is what we're looking for. So I think it'd probably be a good idea, once you retain somebody, maybe we could even have just a brief call with our consultant and
Okay.
your consultant, so they can talk about what the appropriate scope would be, so you don't do, more than the information we require in terms of traffic
Well,
counts and things.
I think the traffic flow itself is probably not a whole lot, maybe the hours are a little different, but I don't think we're anticipating that this is, it's not a CVS or something where we know that the traffic flow isn't going to change that much. It's really, as Noel said, it's the parking that we're really concerned about.
So we should get that study done before we go to the zoning board.
Yeah, I think you should probably, this is for the board, but I think you probably want to see it before you refer it to the zoning board to be sure that you're
So
comfortable with
come back here
it.
first, and then, okay.
Yeah, I think so, just to,
Okay.
it's kind of our job to ask these questions.
Yep.
As Noel said, not a full-blown study, some sort of due diligence review with accompanying memo that we could give to ours, and they could bless it off, which would be a little more in-depth than what we would be able to do. All right? If you're done, I think this is a public hearing. So let me just see if the public has any comments.
Oh, we have to open
Yeah.
the hearing, yeah.
Right, I am. So I make a motion to open the public hearing on application 2502, Empire Bagels, 288 White Plains Road.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
No comments from the public, so I'm going to leave the public hearing open. So I make a motion to leave the public hearing on this application open.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
See you
Okay,
next
so
month.
we'll get the traffic study done.
Yep.
And I'll talk to the owner about possibly getting something in writing.
Yeah, in the lease.
The parking.
And again,
That's for-
coordinate with the building and planning department.
But I think that's really for their own benefit.
Yeah, no, it'll help
benefit
us with the
before
zoning
us.
board, yep.
Well, it's also gonna help you going before the zoning board of
Yep.
appeals as well.
And it helps the property owner too.
That's
She'll
right.
have this in place, and
Yeah.
it'll be good for the future.
Yep.
Okay,
Cool. Thank you.
sounds good, great, thank
Thank
you.
you.
All right, have a good night.
Thanks, gentlemen. Have a good night. Last application.
The next thing here? The next, okay.
Good night. Last application is 2443, 124 Siwinari Boulevard.
Mr. Chairman, members of the planning board, my name is David Mooney. I'm the architect for the application for 124 Siwinari Boulevard. We received our architectural review board approval last week and were referred to your board. The proposal is two second floor additions to an existing house and two new front bay windows and a covered entryway, which you can see in the rendering here. These are the two new bay windows in the front and covered entryway. This portion of the second floor is a new addition for a bedroom, and then the rear of this portion is a second floor addition over the existing house for a master bedroom. All the siding will be changed, the roofing will be changed, all the materials will be new, new doors and windows. And one of the comments that the ARB had is currently there's planting along the front of the house, which we're going to relocate to the side while we're under construction, what is worth saving, and then add what we need to keep these areas here in the front landscaped at the foundation. We're adding at the existing bay windows stone veneer on the bottom, and the question was about adding stone across the front, but it's so little exposure, and with the foundation planting, you don't really see it. So that's basically the scope of the project.
The stone you're talking about is the white accent at the foundation or below the white accent on the plan?
The planting in here, this is a new water table board here, and then there's about a foot and a half below.
With stone.
It's concrete, but right now you can't see it's planted, but when we scaffold this, the planting's gonna die.
Right now, they're pretty low-lying plants, and you still can't see the foundation.
Right, yeah, so putting stone on it didn't make much sense, because we plan on planting back that area.
It looks like you're probably barely meeting the percentage requirement to have to come before this board, because I'm looking at the picture of the...
Correct.
Yeah.
I think it was just slightly over that 30%.
Yeah, so this is sort of and certainly it looks like an attractive addition, but you're really not doing a whole lot other than making it look nicer, and of course adding that one bedroom you said on the right second floor.
The second
of the
floor,
building.
correct.
Yeah.
You also offset it a little bit to break
We pulled
the
it
plane.
back
Yeah,
so that the original house is the dominant feature to it.
Yeah, I think that was a good, I approve.
And is the footprint changing at all?
Other than the bay windows coming out, the footprint's the same. We basically are building on top of the existing house.
That's a copper roof over
Copper
the
on
base?
top of the bay windows, correct, and then it'd be new fiberglass asphalt shingles on the house.
Existing pillars, those are new?
No, the portico is new.
Right, so the portico's new.
But there's
along the
a
pillars.
base there, yeah, so.
It's very nice.
That looks good.
Oh. Those windows have the grills, right?
Yep.
You can put the grills on.
Oh, and the windows, yeah, correct, right.
Yeah.
You said you were before the Architectural Review Board. What suggestions, what comments did they have, if any?
They didn't, other than addressing the plantings across the front as to what it was. Everything else, they, were happy with the design and the types of materials we were using.
Good.
Okay.
Are there any changes in lighting, or?
There's two existing sconces, which you can't see in here, but will remain, yeah.
Okay, good.
But the back addition is the entire, it all comes out, right?
The back addition is a new second floor.
Master.
Yeah, for the master over the,
Right,
it's over here, right in this area, yeah.
That's the addition?
Yeah.
There's a room below that.
And
going
it's
on
right
top of that.
above the existing kitchen's below that.
Okay. Match, same finishes, everything else is the same around? As far as finishes and
All
roof?
the finishes will be the same throughout
Match
the whole
existing.
house, yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, no need to keep asking questions. I think you've presented it, and I think it looks very nice. So this is a public hearing. Let's just make sure, see if anyone has any comments. So I make a motion to open the public hearing on application 2443, 124 Siwanoy.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
You can comment during your house if you like, or we'll just close the public hearing. Make a motion to close the public hearing on this application, 124 Siwanoy Boulevard.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then I make a motion to approve the application on 12443, 124 Siwanoy Boulevard.
Second.
As submitted, subject to the following conditions, as to conditions. Oh, right, the conditions put the plantings. You already said okay about that. So, but subject to that comment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great, thank you. Very nice, thank you. Congratulations.
Yep.
And I make a motion to adjourn the January 23rd, 2025 Planning Board meeting. Next meeting will be February 27th, 2025.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.